Hello, today is 9th of May 2020. This video I wanted to make regarding associations, and in particular one association of which we are member. We have not left it or been kicked out yet for the moment, but it is interesting to note that for 3 times in a row I've been posted as director, and I never really find out why was not elected, because the most transparent way to getting candidates now is the votes they had. So they only issue the 3 directors or 4 directors that have been chosen, not the votes of those that have not been chosen. I believe this is an area of work, so that we must all know if we were in position number 19 out of 90 candidates, perhaps we don't try again. But if we are in position number 3 and just lost for 2 votes, and the difference between number 1, 2, 3 was also just 1 vote, then perhaps we try again. Yeah, very simple. This motivates the whole association members without constraining that those that always get elected are always of the same oligopolistic companies. That because they have huge number of ships and they are the biggest of the association, they can control and keep their spaces forever. And that is the way most of associations worldwide work. But we must not forget that if we have 300 members in IMEC, then each of them, or each of us, if we are big, small, medium big, medium small, whatever, we are just 1 vote. So this video is just to get your vote for my next election, because I will run and run and run, even though I don't even know if I am 90 or 89, because it really is not my concern regarding being elected for director, because it is really quite a big burden of work to fly and have meetings. Whilst this video I wanted to express how it would be different if the 4th time I was going to run for director, the 20th of April. Why? It is not necessary to have annual general meetings physically, whilst we can preview in YouTube the ideas of the intrinsic value each candidate can generate, analyze, add them, and if number 90 out of 19, let's say my case, for example, then if I do not get posted as director, perhaps number 5 of my ideas, number 6, number 2, number 7, they can be followed up and they can be implemented in the association because they generate so much intrinsic value. This is one of the biggest problems of having oligopolies in the directors of all the associations, because the intrinsic value of the ideas of members, even if it is 90 or if it is number 1, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that the association yearly improves. And this annual general meeting, which was to be done 20th of April, now it is postponed until, say, the fall, say autumn. And what is the point in postponing, for example, now, how can we reduce suppliers that are critical to the International Maritime Employers Council, for example, which is one of our biggest suppliers, for example. The International Maritime Employers Council does special agreements with the International Transport Federation. This cost of this agreement is $330 per position per year. Now, could we negotiate out of our 300,000 seafarers to reduce these fees from 330 to, let's say, $2 per month, which is $24 per year? I believe is a reasonable amount, because nowadays with this coronavirus, we are looking at costs very thoroughly, and we still want to look at transparency very thoroughly and looking at having cover for all the seafarers and the obligations and the rights, or the rights and the obligations, whichever way, for the overtime, for the leave, for the insurance P&I, how we could improve. This is another area. the P&I Protection and Indemnity Club of Seafarers, it has not really been an action of negotiation with these members that are in the competitive area, in the compound intrinsic value area of the seafarers. We are very worried that we could have here a very competitive advantage created in the seafaring world by increasing the cover for the families, the cover for illness, and so on. And even there is a third supplier that is very important, of course, is the bank transfers. How can we make this much cheaper, much faster, much reliable? How can this be much more digital? How can we improve these transfers that have like wallet, that have captain's cash, that have advantages in mortgages, advantages in buying a car, in the family education, and advantages to serve our seafarers, because it will of course improve the corporate social responsibility of ship owners. Ship owners have nothing against us improving the service and the suppliers. The fourth point of improving is, of course, the travel. How can we improve the travel today, make it compulsory, making essential the seafarers? These are great areas of interest that the association since 20th of April could have been working, which is already 1 month and 15 days lost, approx, that we could improve constantly. Then these areas of interest in the elections would be like, if we even before the election find out one idea, perhaps the association can take it as granted and pass to the rest of members. Members would say yes, no, and automatically, even before the election, get the job done. This is what an association should be like. And this is why it's so important to have this kind of transparency into the actions of the association, especially now that IMEC is in the UK. UK has decided to support ship owners as, I believe, the first country in the world. So this is by no means a negative video. This is constructive video of the intrinsic compound value, the maritime industry. One objective done is that the UK government is supporting UK ship owners. This is, thank you. Thank you very much. Probably it is because IMEC is in the UK. I cannot really measure if that is the case, but that UK is strategic for maritime, not only because it's an island, also because it has the Anglo-Saxon laws, which are worldwide renowned and should be used for. And this is point number 5. Now, the law applicable and the ways of arbitration, for example, the ways of conflicts, for example, the ways of labor conflicts, arbitration. This is a tricky area that if we could add how much money employers and seafarers did spend in a year in, let's say, in Filipinas with the garnishment programs, or in other countries that the law does not match our requirements, the same way we created the Protection and Indemnity Club to cover ship owners' special demands for insurance, perhaps we must think of having our special jurisdiction for the seafarers, which is much faster, providing indemnities. It avoids much less risk for the ship owner, and also it is direct in compliance and transparency. And perhaps here also International Transport Federation could be means to help in this area of interest. It is one of the ideas that just popped out, but perhaps, who knows, perhaps you have an idea today, you're watching this video, and then you write it down, or you call IMEC, and Francesco Gergulo, the CEO, then does think it's positive and it gets done. So these are the areas of the digital annual general meetings and associations that perhaps in IMEC we could improve that. We don't have to fly to annual general meetings any longer. We don't have to make pollution except for the seafarers joining the ships and doing the vital transport that is required, and perhaps we can improve the conditions of all this situation worldwide. And I hope that you really like this video. It is exclusively as a means of saying, well, what if there was an annual general meeting at 20th of April? What if the rules of voting democratic way towards obtaining these numbers would be taken into account for voting? Candidate A has so much intrinsic compound value for the association, candidate B, blah, 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 C, blah, 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 and then you can transparently vote. And this is the way that I believe in the future things should be working for the interest of our association. And perhaps other associations in the world will say, hey, I like that system. It's very transparent. And why don't we abide by it? What I believe also, it is the sixth point of association. It is the cost of entry to the association. Small and medium companies worldwide are 90% of the employment numbers, either ashore or at sea. And so why then cannot we use these numbers to think, how can we be more powerful association? Obviously, it is with more members. If more members supply more ideas constructively and they can calculate them, because it's not so easy. 20% of the Filipino wages that perhaps is not transparently sent to the seafarers, then how much money this would be? Well, if it is 500,000 seafarers, it's very easy. 500,000 seafarers times average $2,000 wage, $400, so much money. Then this is something that the ship owners would benefit, this 20% of that money. But there is also the training of seafarers that we have one system throughout the world. There is also the basic training. There is also the English training. There is also the COVID training nowadays. There is also the tests. So there are huge areas of improvement. And how can we evaluate this? Perhaps one little company here and there has an idea, a huge idea, which we lost because we are only 300 members. How many employers now are in the world? I believe it's probably the number threefold. So it could be 1,000 now. So why are these 1,000 not members of IMEC? Perhaps it is because this little figure called $5,000 entry fee or $3,000. This is an area of interest that the association has to think. Now, are we going to involve this cadet to officer, rating to officer grants? Are we going to provide these grants, or are these grants obstacles towards the real goal? Which is the real goal? The real goal is to go from 300 members to 1,000 members, 100% employers in the world. Now, if we diminish this entrance fee, perhaps then more members would unite. If instead of employing 300,000 seafarers or 350,000, because we are growing quite fast, if we employ, say, out of 1.5 million seafarers, if we got to 1.2 million seafarers, perhaps we can get better deals for even telephones, Wi-Fi's, insurance, travel, governments, training, all the different ones I mentioned before. So why are not we helping this lowering the fees? Perhaps out of then these 900 members, we could get digitally today the advantage of supplying huge intrinsic compound value to the association. And I hope you really like this video. I will make later on one trying to evaluate how much intrinsic value each advantage point generates for International Maritime Employers Council. I hope that this video also helps the show a government to evaluate what are the small and medium companies' advantages, because if we are going to compete, say an agency, a employer in Spain or in Peru or in Manila, then of course we must compete with the same taxes, the same regulations, the same bureaucracy. And this is an area of interest also for you governments to start thinking that, of course, in IMEC we are going to be #1 much faster than you, but perhaps it's time you start in this coronavirus to think in any other association in the world, how could we improve the compound intrinsic value? Thank you very much, IMEC members, for your future vote one day, and thank you very much for you seafarers from my heart. Bye.